Well, welcome back to the Great Unexplained debate. We're just going off to Brazil now. You've just asked about why there's so many sightings over Brazil.
Yeah, there are always reports about lots of lights, and especially in formations over Brazil and South America and Mexico as well, I think.
Mexico, Mexico City being the principal place. I mean, of course, Puerto Rico and other places as well, but Mexico City is certainly one of the... Pretty much started around about 91, the major incidents, because they had a full solar eclipse in Mexico City, and as you can well imagine with today's technology, everybody was out there with the video cameras. I mean, the last time, if you're talking about the last one, solar eclipse there, full one, was probably 10 years prior to that, then we wouldn't have had all these, video equipment around. But it was a great opportunity for thousands of people to get their cameras out and point them up at the sky to film the eclipse. Well, of course, there were 3 or 4 different objects out in the sky, clearly dish-shaped objects, and they were being filmed. Thousands of people were filming them, and that's how it made world news, because nobody had ever done and received so much great footage from one incident. And since then, Mexico City has been bombarded, literally bombarded with thousands and thousands of objects. As to what they are is still a big mystery. The principal investigator over there is Jaime Maussan. He has a TV show, it's like 60 Minutes over there, and he promotes people to come forward with video footage, and it's because the way the media's set there, that it literally, you can send straight into the media and they'll distribute it to the world. So really, we probably would see a lot more from other countries if they were set up in the same manner. But a lot of people think it's basically because, well, the mythology side comes in, doesn't it, with the Mayans, because the Mayans said the sixth sun, which was their sixth solar eclipse, which was that particular day in 91, that the gods would be seen in the sky. And of course, people have interpreted that, being Mexican, and said, oh, these must be the gods.
But is it one of those things you can interpret quite a few of these things to fit anyway, which we've got? I mean, but the other thing is with the UFO sightings and everything, that obviously we had this huge thing with America in the 50s, and there's all this panic thing with them, and they had all these sci-fi films about Martians landing and all this kind of stuff. But it almost seems like most of the UFO sightings kind of came from that era and kind of built momentum. I don't know of any before then, of any sort of any Victorian people looking up saying, I saw a strange object, in their diaries.
Yeah.
But then again, would they be looking for it?
There's an American science magazine that I found from 1930, which had a picture of a disc on the front of it with people sat inside it, and it were just theories between scientists, not backwards and forwards, about circular aircraft and things like that. So there was ideas around. However, most people will say, oh, well, it all came from flying saucer era from 1947, when Kenneth Arnold saw these so-called so many discs skipping across the skyline water, hence the name flying saucer came out. Prior to that, though, there was some incidents around about 1943, 1942, but they don't get mentioned because, it's sort of shadowed over by the fact of the 1947 incidents. TV media picked it up in the 50s, thought it was a great idea to, make movies, and we all those seen those black and white ones.
Was the Awesome World's radio
program,
where everybody went out into, was it New York, and panicked in
the
streets.
They thought it was real.
Yeah, they really did believe it.
War of the Worlds, yeah. Well, some people say that was actually a government, conspiracy stuff now, but it was down to the government, and they asked him to do that to test the public, because we need to test the public what their reaction would be if...
Do you know, I've not even thought of that, but what a great way to test it.
Oh yeah,
what a great way to test it.
And of course, when they realised how much panic there was, they said, oh no, we'll hold back on that information about the UFOs yet.
but you would do it. But that's the whole, another thing, if they had proof, and they came out tomorrow with, we have proof of aliens, and this is it, and this is the footage we got, this is the aircraft we got now, and we got a dead alien here. It would change people's views completely on life.
It would, it certainly would, but I don't think it'll be as hard-hitting as it would have been 30 or 40 years back. I mean, you were talking about 40 years ago, and you said, we've got evidence of this. People would have probably would panic. I think nowadays, though, I mean, especially the kids that are growing up with it, I mean, it's in TV, cartoons, comics. You can't get away from it. Make cereal boxes with aliens and UFOs on them now. There's a series of books that have been released for part of the national curriculum for 8-year-olds. and it's called Cito and Friends. And it's about I read Pete and Jane books when I was at school.
Yeah, that's the same here, yeah.
But now the kids can read books about visits with aliens and UFOs.
But this is my point. You see, going back to sort of the Victorian era, I mean, if someone had seen something in the sky then, it would have been so much more publicised. The reason is that because nothing flew. Yeah, there were no planes, so there wasn't even people weren't looking up in the sky. But then again, because of that, were they not looking up in the sky? They weren't looking for it.
Then you go back to Egyptian times, the Aztecs, they did see things in the sky.
Yeah, well, there
in
is.
biblical times, there's references in the
then.
Bible to chariots of fire in the sky,
and the Romans
burning
did the same thing.
swords and voices from heaven and things like that.
Right.
That's right back in
and
biblical
there are
times.
references in the 1800s as well, but they were referred to as phantom airships.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, phantom airships, and it was before the airship era, and that actually followed on to the ghost rockets. And this is just how the name of the phenomenon has changed through the years, phantom airships, ghost rockets, UFOs.
It's a very interesting subject, though, isn't it, when you start getting into it?
But when you get into that subject, and like you say, again, I hadn't really thought of, and I've read the Bible, and I hadn't really thought of you go back and look at some religious texts, you kind of, you can interpret some of that. You think, actually, that fits really well.
Ancient art. If you look in some of the older, art forms and pictures in galleries and things like that, you'll see little things in the corners of old pictures that could resemble UFOs if you wanted to interpret it that way.
There were some tapestries from the 1200s, 1400s. And you can clearly see a metallic object in the sky. Now, they always were related to religious content, such as you might see Mary sat there. But on a number of tapestries, you can see this beam of light coming out of it and hitting Mary in the head. And they were referred to as pretty much probably religious icons of some sort. So they were placed into old tapestries for us to see now, hundreds of years later, and think, what was it all about?
Isn't there, in the hieroglyphics and stuff like that, and Aztecs again, isn't there stuff...
There is, yeah. I mean, what's interesting is, worldwide, we're talking about early human societies all talking about the same thing, which is interesting because, we would have had to travel the whole world over. I mean, Christopher Columbus, we didn't know the Americas were there, apparently.
That's true.
And Christopher Columbus was supposed to have found them. Incidentally, apparently he followed lights, according to his logs. He got lost at sea, apparently.
Oh, did he?
And he never navigate by the stars, but they were moving that night, apparently, the stars. So he says in his log.
Is that fantastic? You don't even think of that. You don't think of that.
The symbols in the Mayan things and the Egyptian hieroglyphs and things, we only interpret them as being associated with extraterrestrials because we have that culture already. If we didn't have the culture of the alien grey or whatever symbol it is that we're associating with that, we wouldn't associate it. We're actually applying our culture to theirs and interpreting it in our own way.
But this is the actual, again, that's another good point, is we interpret things. And basically we have a few people that will interpret things and kind of lead us to interpret them in the same way because that's their interpretation. And we as human beings, we kind of, a lot of us follow. So if a lot of people go, you know what, I'm pretty sure that's, since that person who knows everything about everything has said that must be true.
Well, that's right. I mean, if you take a guy called Zachariah Sitchin, he's only one of probably 12 people on this planet which can read Sumerian old text. Now, Sumerian is supposed to be, you probably heard a little bit about that, but Sumerian old text is supposed to be associated to probably the oldest civilization on this planet known. And you've heard about Planet X. Have you ever heard about Planet X or Nibiru or anything like that?
I've got a film, Devil Woman from Planet X.
Right. Okay, well, the theory is that the Sumerians taught that they had this